The champagne flute shattered against marble with a sound like bones breaking. Maya didn't flinch. She'd stopped flinching 3 months ago. Clean it up. Vanessa's voice was silk wrapped around a blade. That's what you're good for, isn't it? The party continued around them. Laughter from the terrace. Piano music bleeding through expensive speakers. 60 people were celebrating her husband's promotion, and not one of them looked at Maya kneeling on the floor, picking up glass with her bare hands. Ethan stood 15 feet away, his back to her, telling some story that made his colleagues roar. His hand rested on the small of Vanessa's back. Casual. Possessive. The way he used to touch Maya. Before. A shard bit into her palm. Blood welled up, dark against her skin. She closed her fist around it and kept cleaning. Careful, someone said. You'll stain the grout. Maya looked up. Vanessa smiled down at her, radiant in a dress that cost more than Maya's car. Had cost, past tense. Ethan sold the car 2 weeks ago. Said they didn't need 2 vehicles. I'll be careful, Maya whispered. Good girl. The words hung in the air like smoke. Maya watched Vanessa glide away, watched her husband's eyes follow the movement of that perfect body in that perfect dress. Watched him not look for his wife at all. She pressed the glass deeper into her palm. The pain felt like the only honest thing in the room. It started small. That's how these things always start, Maya would think later. Small enough that you convince yourself you're imagining it. Small enough that speaking up makes you the crazy one. 6 months ago, Vanessa had been just another face at the firm. Ethan's new colleague. Beautiful, yes, but New York was full of beautiful women. Maya had been secure then. Stupid and secure. She's brilliant, Ethan said one night over dinner. Their apartment was small, but it was theirs, filled with second-hand furniture and dreams they'd built together. Harvard Law. Top of her class. The partners are obsessed with her. Maya smiled and asked about his day, and didn't notice that he talked about Vanessa for 20 minutes. Didn't notice when work dinners became more frequent. Didn't notice when he stopped reaching for her in the dark. Didn't notice until it was too late that she'd become invisible in her own marriage. The first time Vanessa came to their home, Maya made fresh pasta from scratch. Spent 6 hours in the kitchen because Ethan mentioned once that Vanessa loved Italian food. She wanted to be gracious. Wanted to be the kind of wife who welcomed her husband's friends. Vanessa arrived in Louboutins and looked at their small apartment the way someone might look at a museum exhibit. Curious but detached. Studying poverty from a safe distance. This is so cozy, Vanessa said, running one perfect finger along their bookshelf. How long have you lived here? 4 years, Maya answered, setting out wine glasses. Since we got married. And you're a teacher, right? Elementary school. 2nd grade. That's sweet. Vanessa's smile was sympathetic. Pitying. It must be nice, working with children. So simple. Ethan laughed. Actually laughed. Maya's great with kids. She's patient. Patient. As if that was her only quality. As if she hadn't put him through law school, working 2 jobs. As if she hadn't made every meal, managed every bill, held their life together with her bare hands while he built his career. But she smiled. Said nothing. Served dinner and watched Vanessa dominate the conversation, watched her husband lean forward and hang on every word, and felt something cold settle in her chest. That night, after Vanessa left, Ethan fucked Maya with his eyes closed. She stared at the ceiling and knew. The humiliation started after the promotion. Ethan made partner at 32. Youngest in the firm's history. Vanessa threw him a party at her family's estate in the Hamptons. Maya learned about it from a Facebook post. You didn't think to mention it, she asked him carefully. They'd learned to fight in whispers now, in the thin-walled apartment where neighbors might hear. It's a work thing, Maya. You wouldn't enjoy it. I'm your wife. Exactly. You're my wife, not my colleague. These people talk about corporate law and mergers and, he stopped. Ran his hand through his hair. You'd be bored. I'm thinking of you. She wanted to laugh. To scream. To grab him by the shoulders and shake him until he saw her again. But she just nodded. Kissed his cheek. Watched him leave for the Hamptons without her. He came back 3 days later smelling like expensive perfume. That's when Maya started checking his phone. She hated herself for it. Hated the desperate, suspicious woman she'd become. But she waited until he was in the shower and scrolled through messages, looking for proof of what she already knew. The texts weren't explicitly sexual. They were worse. Vanessa, that thing you said about the Sanderson case, you're brilliant. I can't stop thinking about it. Ethan, can't stop thinking about you either. Vanessa, dangerous words, Mr. Chen. Ethan, you make me want to be dangerous. Maya put the phone down. Walked to the bathroom. Opened the door without knocking. Ethan was just a shadow behind the frosted glass. Hey, babe, what's up? Are you sleeping with her? The water kept running. He didn't answer immediately. That silence told her everything. Maya. Are you? It's complicated. She laughed then. Actually laughed, and the sound scared her because it came from somewhere deep and broken inside her chest. Complicated. That's what we're calling it. He turned off the water. Stepped out. Didn't bother with a towel. Stood there naked and dripping and looked at her with something like annoyance. You want honesty? Fine. Yes. We've been together for 3 months. And before you make this into some dramatic thing, I need you to understand something. He stepped closer. Vanessa is my future. She's brilliant, ambitious, and powerful. She understands my world. I'm your wife. You're a second-grade teacher from Newark who makes $38,000 a year. He said it like a diagnosis. Clinical. Final. You were perfect when I was nobody. But I'm not nobody anymore. The words landed like physical blows. Maya gripped the sink to stay standing. I loved you, she whispered. I know. And I'm grateful. Really. He grabbed a towel and started drying off. Casual. As if he hadn't just gutted her. But love isn't enough, Maya. It never was. Then why are you still here? He paused. Met her eyes in the mirror. Because Vanessa's parents are traditional. Old money, old values. They don't approve of divorce. It would look bad. So we need to wait. He turned to face her. I need you to play the part a little longer. Be the supportive wife at events. Smile for photos. Make me look stable. And then I'll make sure you're taken care of. Financially. You won't have to worry. Maya stared at this stranger wearing her husband's face. Tried to remember the boy she'd met in college. The one who'd cried at their wedding. Who'd promised forever. That boy was dead. Okay, she said quietly. Ethan blinked, surprised. Okay. I'll play the part. She left him standing there and went to their bedroom and opened the closet. Pulled out a box from the top shelf. Inside was every letter her mother had sent her, every birthday card, every reminder that she came from somewhere. At the bottom was a business card, slightly yellowed with age. Graham Sterling, attorney at law. Specializing in estate planning and family matters. Her mother's last gift. Keep this, she'd said on her deathbed. Someday you might need it. Maya had never called the number. Never needed to. But her mother had been adamant in those final days, delirious from morphine but somehow clear about this one thing: Graham will tell you everything. When you're ready. When it matters. Maya turned the card over in her hands. Called the number. Graham Sterling's office was in Midtown, tucked between a sushi restaurant and a wealth management firm. The waiting room smelled like old leather and expensive coffee. Maya wore her nicest dress. It was 5 years old and slightly faded, but it was all she had. She felt like a child playing dress-up in the world of adults. Mrs. Chen. The receptionist smiled warmly. Mr. Sterling will see you now. Graham Sterling was 70, silver-haired, with eyes that missed nothing. He stood when Maya entered, shook her hand with genuine warmth. Maya. I've been waiting for this call for a very long time. She sat. Folded her hands in her lap. I don't understand. My mother gave me your card, but she never explained why. Your mother was a remarkable woman. Proud. Stubborn. And very, very private about certain things. He pulled a folder from his desk, thick with documents. She made me promise not to contact you unless you called first. She wanted you to live a normal life for as long as possible. Normal? Yes. Teaching. Marriage. The life she never had. He opened the folder. Maya, do you know anything about your father? He died before I was born. That's all she ever said. Graham nodded slowly. Your father was Marcus Vale. The name meant nothing to Maya. She shook her head. Marcus Vale built his first company at 23. Sold it at 28 for $600 million. Built 2 more. Lost one in the dot-com crash, but the other, Vale Technologies, became one of the largest private holdings in the country. When he died 7 years ago, his estate was valued at $14 billion. The numbers were too big. Maya's brain couldn't process them. What does this have to do with me? Everything. Graham slid a document across the desk. This is your birth certificate. The original, not the amended version, your mother filed. Marcus Vale is listed as your father. Maya stared at the paper. The letters swam. No. That's not possible. My mother was a waitress. We lived in a studio apartment. We ate pasta 4 nights a week because that's all we could afford. Your mother refused Marcus's help. She loved him, but she didn't love his world. When she got pregnant, he wanted to marry her. Wanted to give you everything. But your mother saw how that world destroyed people. The greed. The cruelty. The way money turned humans into monsters. Graham's voice was gentle. She chose poverty and integrity over wealth and corruption. But why are you telling me this now? Because of the will. He pulled out another document. Marcus never stopped loving your mother. Never stopped thinking about you. He couldn't contact you directly, your mother made him promise. But he set up a trust. A very large trust. How large? $4.2 billion. The world tilted. Maya gripped the arms of her chair. There were conditions. You couldn't access any of it until you were 30. And you had to contact me first. Marcus wanted you to choose this life. Not have it forced on you. Graham leaned forward. Maya, you turned 30 last month. That's why I've been waiting. The moment you called, the trust became active. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. $4.2 billion. 14 billion total. Her father. Marcus Vale. I need. She stood up too fast. The room spun. I need to think. Of course. But Maya. Graham's voice stopped her at the door. There's something else you should know. The trust includes a controlling interest in Vale Technologies. Which means you don't just inherit money. You inherit power. Real power. The kind that changes everything. Maya walked out of the office in a daze. Took the subway home even though she could have afforded a helicopter now. Could have bought the entire subway system. The apartment was empty. Ethan was at work. Probably with Vanessa. Maya sat on their second-hand couch and stared at her hands. These hands that had scrubbed floors and graded papers and held her husband while he cried about law school stress. These hands that now controlled billions. She started to laugh. Quiet at first, then louder, until she was gasping and crying and laughing all at once because the universe had the darkest sense of humor. The glass wife. The invisible woman. The second-grade teacher is worth $38,000 a year. She pulled out her phone. Started scrolling. Found Ethan's Instagram. His latest post was from 2 hours ago. He and Vanessa were at a charity gala. Her in diamonds. He is in Tom Ford. The caption, with the best partner a man could ask for. The comments were full of heart emojis. No one mentioned his wife. Maya took a screenshot. Then she opened her banking app and checked her account. The trust hadn't transferred yet. Graham said it would take 48 hours. 2 more days. 2 more days of being nobody. Then everything would change. The second party was worse than the first. Ethan's firm was celebrating a major case victory. Partners only, plus significant others. Maya arrived in the same faded dress, carrying a bottle of wine from Trader Joe's because it was all she could afford. Vanessa met her at the door, wearing Harry Winston and contempt. "Oh, Maya. You came. Not welcome. A surprise. An inconvenience. I'm his wife. Technically." Vanessa's smile was sharp. "Come in. Try not to embarrass him too much." The apartment was Vanessa's. Penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Art that costs more than most people make in a year. Maya felt like a stain on the marble. Ethan was holding court near the bar. He saw Maya, and something flickered across his face. Annoyance? Shame? It was gone too fast to tell. "Sweetheart." He kissed her cheek for show. His lips were cold. "You made it. Wouldn't miss it." Well, go get a drink. Try to mingle. These are important people." He turned back to his conversation. Dismissed. Maya walked to the bar. Ordered water. The bartender looked at her with pity. "Tough crowd?" he asked quietly. "Something like that." She found a corner and watched. Watched Vanessa work the room like a queen. Watched Ethan follow her with his eyes. Watched the other wives, older, thinner, dripping in jewelry, whisper behind their hands when they looked at Maya. She was the outlier. The mistake. The thing that didn't belong. "You're Chen's wife, right?" Maya turned. A woman in her 50s, elegant in black, extended a manicured hand. "Patricia Morrison. My husband's the managing partner." "Maya. Nice to meet you." Patricia's eyes swept over her. "How long have you been married?" 6 years. "And you're a teacher, is it?" "Yes." "How sweet." That word again. Sweet. Like a consolation prize. It must be hard, watching Ethan move up. The lifestyle changes. The expectations. Maya said nothing. Patricia leaned in and dropped her voice. "Can I give you some advice? Woman to woman?" "Sure." "Let him go." The words were gentle but firm. Men like Ethan, they outgrow their first wives. It's not personal. It's just evolution. The kinder thing is to step aside gracefully. Take the settlement. Start over with someone more suitable. Suitable. You know what I mean. Patricia squeezed her arm. Sympathetic. You're pretty in a normal way. Sweet. You'll find someone at your level. But Ethan? She glanced across the room. He needs someone who can match him. Someone like Vanessa. Maya followed her gaze. Ethan and Vanessa stood together by the window, backlit like a magazine cover. He was laughing at something she said. His hand rested on her hip. Everyone was watching them. Admiring them. The perfect couple. "Excuse me," Maya whispered. She walked to the bathroom. Locked the door. Stared at herself in the mirror. Normal, pretty. Sweet. Suitable. $38,000 a year. The glass wife. She pulled out her phone. Checked the banking app. The transfer had gone through early. Current balance, $4,200,000,000. Maya stared at the number. Started laughing again. Couldn't stop. Someone knocked on the door. "You okay in there?" She splashed water on her face. Fixed her makeup. Opened the door. Vanessa stood there, arms crossed. "Having a breakdown?" "Just needed a moment." "Well, hurry up. You're missing the speeches." Although, Vanessa tilted her head. "Maybe it's better if you stay hidden. You don't exactly fit the aesthetic Ethan's going for." Something in Maya snapped. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a quiet, clean break. "Tell me something," Maya said. "When did you decide you wanted him?" Vanessa blinked, surprised by the question. Then smiled. "The first day. He was brilliant and ambitious and wasted on someone like you. I saw that immediately. And you always get what you want. Always. Must be nice." Maya stepped closer. "Having power. Money. The ability to take things just because you can. It is." Vanessa's smile widened. "You should try it sometime." "Maybe I will." Maya walked past her. Back to the party. Found Ethan near the piano. "I'm leaving," she said quietly. He barely looked at her. "Fine. I'll be home late." "I know." She walked out. Took the elevator down. Stood on the street in the cold November air. 48 hours ago, she'd been broken. Ready to dissolve. Ready to disappear. Now she had 4 billion reasons to stay solid. She pulled out her phone. Called Graham Sterling. "I need you to do something," she said. "I need you to find out everything about Vanessa Morrison. Her family. Their money. Their business. Every detail. Consider it done. And Graham, I need you to keep this quiet. No one can know about the trust." "Not yet." "May I ask why?" Maya watched the penthouse windows glow above her. Watched shadows move behind the glass. Her husband. His mistress. The life they thought they'd built without her. "Because I want to see how far they'll go," she said. "I want to watch them destroy themselves. And then I'll show them who I really am." The next month was a masterclass in restraint. Maya played the perfect victim. Kept teaching her second graders. Kept living in the small apartment. Kept being invisible. But behind the scenes, Graham worked. Veil Technologies was a sleeping giant. Her father had built it into an empire: tech, real estate, venture capital, media. It had holdings in half the major companies in the country. Including Morrison and Steele, the law firm where Ethan worked. Including the hedge fund that managed the Morrison family's wealth. Maya studied the reports Graham sent. Learned the language of power. Discovered that money wasn't just numbers, it was leverage. Control. The ability to move pieces on a board most people didn't even know existed. She learned about Vanessa's father, Richard Morrison. Old money, but bleeding out. Bad investments. Underwater properties. A lifestyle they could barely afford anymore. The law firm was failing. The family was desperate. Vanessa's engagement to Ethan wasn't just romance. It was a business deal. Ethan's brilliance plus the Morrison name equaled survival. They needed his mind. His reputation. His future earning potential. And they needed him free of the poor wife who didn't photograph well. "What do you want to do?" Graham asked during one of their secret meetings. Maya stared at the documents spread across the table. "I want them to think they've won. I want Ethan to divorce me. Want Vanessa to marry him. Want them to feel safe. And then? Then I take everything." Graham smiled slowly. "I was hoping you'd say that." The divorce papers came on a Tuesday. Maya was grading spelling tests when Ethan walked in, lawyer in tow. "Maya, this is Robert Chen. No relation." Ethan's attempt at humor fell flat. "He's going to go over some papers with you." The lawyer was young and uncomfortable. He set down a folder. "Mrs. Chen, your husband is filing for divorce on the grounds of irreconcilable differences. He's prepared to offer you a settlement of $50,000 and 3 months in the apartment to find new housing." 50,000. 6 years of marriage. Of sacrifice. Of love. $50,000. Maya looked at Ethan. He couldn't meet her eyes. "That's generous," the lawyer continued. "Given the prenup you signed and the length of the marriage, you're not entitled to much more." "What prenup?" Maya asked quietly. The lawyer blinked. Looked at Ethan. "The prenuptial agreement from before your wedding?" "We never signed a prenup," Maya said. Actually, Ethan cleared his throat. "Remember those papers we signed at the lawyer's office before the wedding? The estate planning documents? Those were for wills. They also included a prenup clause. Standard stuff. My lawyer recommended it." He was lying. She saw it in the way he shifted his weight. The way his fingers drummed against his thigh. But she also knew it didn't matter. He'd probably forged her signature. These people rewrote reality to suit their needs. "I see," Maya said calmly. The lawyer looked relieved. "So you'll sign? Can I have a few days to think about it?" "Maya," Ethan's voice had an edge now. "Don't make this difficult. You're getting 50 grand. That's more than you had when I met you. I had you when I met you. You had potential. Now you have cash. Take it." The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps I should give you two some privacy." "No need." Maya stood. "I'll sign." Both men looked shocked. "Really?" Ethan couldn't hide his relief. That's great. Mature. I appreciate it. I just have one condition." "What?" "I want to be invited to the wedding. Yours and Vanessa's." Ethan laughed. Actually laughed. "You want to watch me marry someone else? I want to see you happy." After all, she smiled. Small. Sad. "You deserve everything you've earned." The words hung in the air. Ethan took them at face value. The lawyer looked uneasy. "Fine," Ethan said. "You can come to the wedding. Now sign the papers." Maya picked up the pen. Signed her name. The lawyer gathered the documents. Left quickly. Ethan lingered. "For what it's worth, I did love you. Once. I know. And I meant what I said. You're a good person, Maya. You'll find someone better suited to you. Someone simple." She watched him leave. Listened to the door close. Sat in the silence of the apartment that would soon belong to someone else. Then she called Graham. "It's time," she said. "I want to buy Morrison and Steele. The whole firm. Every share. And I want to do it quietly. Through shell companies. I don't want them to know who owns them until it's too late. That's going to cost. I have $4 billion. Cost isn't a concern. Graham was quiet for a moment. Your father would be proud. My father is dead. And my husband thinks I'm worth $50,000. Her voice was ice. Let's show them both what a mistake feels like. The acquisition took 3 weeks. Morrison and Steele was technically a partnership, but partnerships are just corporations with better marketing. And corporations can be bought. Especially failing ones held together by debt and desperation. Graham used a dozen shell companies. Made it look like a consortium of investors. The Morrison family, drowning in bad debt, sold their controlling shares for what seemed like a fortune but was really just enough rope to hang themselves with. By the time they realized what had happened, Maya owned 60% of the firm. She scheduled the revelation for the engagement party. Vanessa's parents threw the celebration at their estate. Champagne. String quartet. 200 guests in black tie. Maya wore the same faded dress. Arrived alone. No one looked twice at her. Ethan and Vanessa stood at the center of it all, radiant. He wore Tom Ford. She wore Marchesa. They looked like they'd been photoshopped into existence. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Morrison raised his glass. Thank you all for coming. Tonight we celebrate not just an engagement, but a merger. He smiled at his own joke. My daughter Vanessa is marrying one of the brightest legal minds of his generation. Together, they'll take Morrison and Steele into the future. Applause. Ethan kissed Vanessa's hand. She glowed. And I'm happy to announce, Richard continued. Thanks to new investors, the firm has been saved. We've secured capital to expand. To thrive. The Morrison legacy lives on. More applause. Champagne. Joy. Maya waited until the speeches ended. Until people started mingling. Then she walked up to Richard Morrison. Excuse me, Mr. Morrison. He looked down at her. Confused. Yes. I'm Maya Chen. Ethan's. Oh. Yes. The teacher. He glanced around, clearly looking for an escape. Nice of you to come. Must be hard, all of this. Actually, I wanted to thank you. Thank me? For selling. I know it must have been a difficult decision. Richard frowned. I'm sorry, I don't understand. The controlling shares in Morrison and Steele. You sold them to Helix Capital Ventures, correct? Yes, but what? I'm Helix Capital Ventures. She said it quietly. Calmly. Actually, I'm the majority shareholder of the parent company that owns Helix. Which means I own 60% of your firm. The color drained from Richard's face. You're lying. I'm not. Call your lawyer. Check the paperwork. You'll find that Helix is a subsidiary of Sterling Holdings, which is controlled by the Vail Family Trust, which is controlled by me. She smiled. Surprise. Richard stared at her. Then started laughing. Nice try, sweetheart. But you're a second-grade teacher. You don't have that kind of money. You're right. I didn't. But my father did. Marcus Vail. You might have heard of him. The name hit like a bomb. Richard actually stumbled backwards. That's impossible. Marcus Vail didn't have children. He had a daughter. Me. And he left me $4 billion. Give or take. Maya's voice stayed soft. Sweet. I've been busy the last few weeks. Buying things. Learning things. Preparing. Preparing for what? This. She turned. Raised her voice. Not shouting. Just loud enough. Can I have everyone's attention, please? The music stopped. Conversations died. 200 faces turned toward her. Ethan saw her. Went pale. Started pushing through the crowd. Maya, what are you doing? I'm making a toast. She picked up a glass from a passing tray. To the happy couple. To Ethan and Vanessa. To their future together. Ethan reached her side. Grabbed her arm. Stop. Whatever this is. It's the truth. She pulled free. Looked at Vanessa. Did you know that your family firm is bankrupt? That you've been bleeding money for 3 years? Did your father sold controlling interest to survive? Vanessa's smile was frozen. I don't know what you're talking about. And did you tell Ethan? Did you explain that marrying him wasn't love, it was a business transaction? That you needed his brilliance to save the firm, to attract clients, to make your family relevant again? That's enough. Richard tried to grab Maya, but she stepped aside. I'm the new majority shareholder of Morrison and Steele. Which means I'm your boss. She looked at Ethan. All of you. The crowd murmured. Whispered. Phones appeared. This was too good not to record. Ethan was shaking. You're lying. You don't have that kind of money. You're a fucking teacher. I was. Past tense. She set down the glass. Now I'm the daughter of Marcus Vale. Now I control Vale Technologies and $14 billion in assets. Now I'm the woman you divorced for $50,000. The silence was absolute. Vanessa found her voice. This is a joke. Some kind of scam. Call Sterling Holdings. Ask them who owns your firm. Ask them who controls your family's assets. Maya's voice was still calm. Still sweet. While you're at it, check your accounts. You'll find that the hedge fund manages your investments. Also owned by Vale Technologies. And I've frozen your accounts pending an audit. Your credit cards. Your trust funds. All of it. Richard made a choking sound. Maya turned to Ethan. You said I was worth $38,000 a year. That I was simple. Suitable for a nobody but not for you. She stepped closer. Do you know what you're worth now? As an employee of my firm? About $60,000 a year. Maybe 70 with bonuses. Maya, I didn't know. You didn't know because you never asked. Never looked. You were too busy measuring people by their bank statements. She glanced at Vanessa. Both of you were. This is insane, Vanessa hissed. You can't just. I can. I already have. Maya looked at the crowd. At the phones recording. At the faces twisted in shock, fascination, and horror. Anyone who wants to keep working at Morrison and Steele should send their resumes to Sterling Holdings. We're restructuring. New management. New vision. And we don't tolerate workplace affairs or ethical violations. So if you've been sleeping with your colleagues, her eyes locked on Ethan. You might want to update LinkedIn. She walked toward the door. Patricia Morrison tried to stop her. You can't do this. You can't destroy people like this. I'm not destroying anyone. Maya kept walking. I'm just removing my foundation from underneath them. It's not my fault they built their lives on someone they considered worthless. She left them standing there. Left the party. The estate. The life she'd been erased from. Outside, Graham was waiting in a black car. How'd it go? He asked as she slid into the back seat. They're going to fight back. Let them. We own the battlefield. Maya closed her eyes. Leaned back. Felt nothing and everything at once. What would my father think? Marcus? Graham pulled into traffic. He'd say you learned the wrong lesson from your mother. What lesson? That hiding from power protects you. But your father knew the truth, power doesn't corrupt. Lack of power does. It makes people desperate. Mean. Willing to step on anyone weaker. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. You had power all along. You just didn't know it yet. And now? Now you're the most dangerous person in New York. A billionaire with nothing left to lose. The lawsuits came first. Ethan filed for the divorce settlement to be voided. Claimed Maya had hidden assets. Fraud. Deception. She countersued for emotional distress and adultery. The case became tabloid gold. Teacher turned billionaire destroys cheating husband. Secret heiress takes down mistress and entire law firm. The glass wife shatters everything. That last headline made Maya smile. The firm tried to fight the acquisition. Richard Morrison claimed the sale was made under pretenses. But the contracts were ironclad. Graham had made sure of that. Within 2 months, Maya cleaned house. Fired every partner who'd been complicit in the affair. Restructured the entire organization. Rebranded it Sterling and Vale. Ethan tried to salvage his career. No firm would touch him. The man who divorced a billionaire for a woman with fake money wasn't someone anyone wanted to invest in. Vanessa's family estate was foreclosed on. The hedge fund froze its assets permanently. They had to sell everything. Move to a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. Maya watched it happen from her new penthouse. 40 floors above the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Art that she actually liked, not art that cost the most. She could have stopped it. Could have shown mercy. She didn't. 6 months after the engagement party, Ethan called her. Maya almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. What do you want? His voice was hollow. Broken. I need help. With what? I can't find work. No one will hire me. Vanessa left. Her family blames me. I'm living in a studio in the Bronx, and I'm 6 months behind on rent. He paused. I made a mistake. I know that now. I'm sorry. Sorry for what, exactly? For everything. For Vanessa. For hurting you. For being blind and stupid and, his voice cracked. For not seeing what I had. Maya said nothing. I thought I wanted power and money and respect, Ethan continued. But all I wanted was you. I love you. I never stopped. Please, Maya. Please give me another chance. She closed her eyes. Remembered the boy she married. The one who'd cried at their wedding. Who'd held her through her mother's death. Who'd promised forever. That boy was gone. No, she said quietly. Maya. You were right about one thing. Love isn't enough. You taught me that. And now you want me to forget the lesson. She opened her eyes. Stared at the city below. You measured me by my bank account. By my job. By what I could do for your image. And when I didn't measure up, you threw me away. I was wrong. You were honest. Finally. And now I'm being honest too. Her voice stayed soft. Calm. You're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry you lost. There's a difference. That's not fair. Neither was $50,000 for 6 years of marriage. She paused. But I'll tell you what. I'll give you the settlement you offered me. 50 grand. 3 months to find new housing. That's generous, right? That's what you said. Maya, please. Goodbye, Ethan. She hung up. Blocked his number. Poured herself a glass of wine, stood at the window and felt nothing. No triumph. No satisfaction. Just a vast, quiet emptiness where her heart used to be. A year passed. Maya rebuilt the firm into something ethical. Something her mother would have been proud of. Pro bono work. Fair wages. Zero tolerance for abuse of power. She stayed out of the tabloids. Kept a low profile. Focused on the work. One afternoon, Graham called. "There's someone here to see you." "Who?" "She says she's from your second-grade class. 10 years ago." Maya frowned. Went to the lobby. A young woman in her early 20s stood there, nervous and bright. "Mrs. Chen?" "Yes. I don't know if you remember me. I was in your class in 2015. You helped me apply for a scholarship. Wrote my recommendation letter. Because of you, I went to college. Got my degree. And now I'm starting law school." Her eyes were wet. "I just wanted to say thank you. You changed my life." Maya stared at her. Remembered a small girl with big dreams and a difficult home. Remembered staying late to tutor her. Fighting for her. Believing in her. "I remember," Maya said softly. "I saw all the stuff in the news. About your husband and the firm and everything. And I thought." The young woman wiped her eyes. "I thought maybe you should know that you were never worth what they said you were worth. You were worth everything to me. To all of us." Something cracked in Maya's chest. Something that had been frozen for a year. She hugged the young woman. Held her tight. "Thank you." After she left, Maya sat in her office and cried for the first time since the divorce. Not for what she'd lost. For what she'd found. 2 years after the engagement party, Maya was in a board meeting when her assistant knocked. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a woman downstairs. Vanessa Morrison. She's asking to see you." Everyone at the table went quiet. Maya considered. "Send her up." Vanessa looked smaller. Thinner. She wore jeans and a sweater. No designer labels. No armor. "Thank you for seeing me," she said quietly. "You have 5 minutes." They sat in Maya's office. The city sprawled below them. "I'm not here to ask for anything," Vanessa started. "I'm here to apologize." "Apologize? For what I did to you? For what I said? For who I was?" She looked down at her hands. "I grew up thinking that money and power were the only things that mattered. That people like you were just obstacles. Stepping stones. I never thought about what I was destroying. And now? Now I'm working at a nonprofit. Making $30,000 a year. Living in a walk-up with 2 roommates. And I'm happier than I ever was in that penthouse." She looked up. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. What you lost. What I took." Maya studied her. Looked for the lie. The angle. Saw only regret. "What happened to Ethan?" Maya asked. "I don't know. We haven't spoken in over a year." Vanessa's voice was hollow. "Last I heard, he was trying to start his own practice. Not going well." They sat in silence. "I was pregnant once," Vanessa said suddenly. "Before everything fell apart. Ethan's baby. I lost it 3 months in." She wiped her eyes. "And you know what he said? He said it was probably for the best. That we weren't ready. But I knew the truth." He was relieved. Because a baby would have complicated his image. His plan. Maya said nothing. "I think that's when I realized I'd sold myself to someone who couldn't love anything. Not me. Not you. Not even himself." Vanessa stood. "I should go. I needed to say I was sorry. For whatever that's worth." "Wait. Vanessa turned. The nonprofit you work for. What do they do? We help women leaving abusive relationships. Legal aid, housing assistance, job training. Maya pulled out her phone. Made a call. Graham. I need you to set up a grant. $5 million to, she looked at Vanessa. What's the organization called? Fresh Start Coalition. Fresh Start Coalition. Unrestricted funds. She hung up. Looked at Vanessa. That doesn't mean we're friends. But I can respect growth. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just do better. After she left, Maya stood at the window. Watched the sun set over the city. Thought about her mother. About love and power and the cost of both. Her phone buzzed. A text from Graham. Your father's foundation board wants to meet. They're voting on new leadership. They want to nominate you as chair. Maya stared at the message. Her father's foundation. Billions are dedicated to education, healthcare, and housing. Real power used for real good. The life her mother had run from. The life Maya had inherited. She typed back, schedule the meeting. 5 years later. Maya stood in front of a second-grade classroom in the Bronx. Not teaching this time. Just visiting. The Vail Education Initiative had built this school. Staffed it with the best teachers. Gave every student a laptop, breakfast, lunch, and after-school programs. Invested in the neighborhood. Changed lives. Who wants to show Ms. Vail what you've been working on? The teacher asked. Hands shot up. 23 kids desperate to share their stories. Maya spent an hour reading their work. Praising their efforts. Telling them they mattered. Telling them they were worth everything. On her way out, she passed a bulletin board covered in photos. Students and teachers. Field trips. Art projects. Joy. At the bottom was a quote from her mother. Power without compassion is cruelty. Compassion without power is just good intentions. We need both. Maya touched the words. Felt her mother's presence like a warm hand on her shoulder. She'd spent years being invisible. Years of being told her worth. Then she'd spent years proving them wrong. Now she was just trying to be visible to the people who needed to be seen. Outside, her driver waited. Graham had retired last year, but his protégé was just as sharp. Just as dedicated to the work. Where to, Ms. Vail? Maya looked at her calendar. 3 board meetings. A speech at Columbia. Dinner with investors. The life of power her mother had feared. But Maya had learned something her mother never did. Power wasn't the problem. How you used it was. The foundation office, she said. We have work to do. The car pulled into traffic. Maya leaned back. Closed her eyes. Somewhere in a small apartment in Queens, Ethan was probably still trying to rebuild. Still measuring people by what they could give him. Still learning the same lesson over and over. Somewhere, Vanessa was helping another woman escape. Finding redemption in service. And somewhere in the city, some children would grow up knowing their worth. Who would never have to earn their humanity. Who would never be invisible. Because Maya had been the glass wife. And when they broke her, she didn't disappear. She became the blade. If this story touched you, subscribe so you don't miss the next one.